All right. So, without a uniform civil code, labeling India to be a secular nation is just an illusion. Or, how can a country be secular when its laws are not? Similar wordings have been suggesting that uniform civil code should be brought in India. Since our constitution envisages one society with singular citizenship, it is highly desirable that one single set of civil laws should govern all its citizens. A very good evening to all the participants and the audience. Welcome to the online meet organized by the Legendary Debates. It's a great pleasure to see you all here. My name is Himani Gautam, and we also have we'll be having Anant also with us for conducting round two. So, as you might have heard, that TLD organizes conventional debate every Sunday, and we have also conducted various offline events successfully. All right, time now to check out the motion for today's debate. The BJP member Kirodi Lal Meena on December 9 submitted Uniform Civil Code in India Bill 2020 in the upper house. The National Secretary of BJP said back in February that it is the right time to bring Uniform Civil Code in the country. Even the NHRC chief also advocated that time is ripe for government to implement Uniform Civil Code. It will not disturb religious practices and also ensure equal rights for women. However, many people do not think that this is the right time to bring uniform civil code in the country because still there are several flaws with the concept. It is particularly unconstitutional and it takes away cultural and religious rights of other minorities as well, which was promised to them by the founding fathers of the constitution. This house believes that it is the right time to implement uniform civil code. Okay, so before inviting our first speaker, I just want to repeat the rules once again that there will be two rounds, round one and round two. In round one, each speaker has only 3 minutes to put up his or her arguments, and there will be no counter arguments here. Speakers in round one are requested to speak either in English or in Hindi. Please refrain from being bilingual. Round two is an open debate where both arguments and counter arguments are allowed. So we are done with the rules. Time now to call the speakers. Is there anyone who would like to initiate today's debate speaking for the motion? Okay, let's go with Alok first, and then we'll have Chaman and then Bhaskar.
Good evening to one and all present here. This is Alok to put his views for the motion of the House. My sapient audience, at the very outset, I would like to make it very clear in utter clear words that this discussion has not been new or the burning issue recently. Rather, the contentious issue of uniform civil code arose right since independence when our forefathers were writing or drafting the Constitution of India. But the main challenge which came in their way was the feasibility to implement uniform civil code in an India at the time of independence where already there were two nations fighting with each other mainly on religious grounds. But now, after 7.5 decades, if we say that it's not the right time to implement uniform civil code, that would go against the spirit and too late to discuss a good thing to be implemented in our country. Now, the main counter arguments which the people of various religions put forth are such. Like there are personal laws of various religions inside our country which particularly aim or rather set out rules for dealing with marriage, divorce, adoption, alimony, etc., which is particularly or very well practiced across the globe in various nations. But the challenge which arises here is, and the motive of Uniform Civil Code is only to address the bad things or bad practices which goes against the spirit of a particular gender, of maybe of minority groups inside a particular religions, and that is the only main motive to be addressed under Uniform Civil Code. Now, Article 44 of Indian Constitution, which comes under Directive Principles of State Policy, which endeavors to to give a uniform civil code to the complete nation. Reason being that it was only aimed right since the beginning that all the policies of the nation would be directed or rather shaped in such a manner that no particular community is harassed or a particular kind of people, group of people, or maybe we can say some gender or some other LGBTQ section could be harmed out of it. So, the other major questions which are put forth by people in opposition of this uniform civil code are as such that since Article 25 of Indian Constitution allows free practice of any religion, then why there is a need of bringing out a uniform civil code in the nation? For that, I would say that it has nothing to do with the good practices, and good practices are never countered. I would like to bring out an example from real life that unless a particular family member or our near or dear ones are affected by some guidelines or some rules of the personal laws, like in the case of triple talaq or the halala in Muslim community, until then there is no argument or there is no opposition shown by the people. But once their own people suffer, then they all come in queue and they all are in chorus with implementing such a good system of uniform civil code in the country. I would also love to bring out that there are Muslim dominant countries across the globe, like we can keep the example, even Pakistan, Malaysia, and other Muslim dominant nations, where, except for the Quran and Hadith, there are different codified law and which are very well accepted by all the people and followed there. So, again, I would like to make it very clear that this does not go against the spirit of any particular
Thank you,
religion, and there
Alok.
is
Your time's up.
just I would conclude in a few seconds. So I would conclude by saying few words that uh, it was a Muslim, the vice chancellor of Maulana Azad University, who proposed this, who filed this petition in the Supreme Court asking for the implementation of uniform civil code. So as soon as this good day arrives in our country, we could not wait any longer, and this discussion should not be further delayed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alok, for speaking with us today. Is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? I hope Chaman, Bhaskar, and Priyanshi want to speak for the motion, but I want someone to speak against the motion first. Anshika, would you like to speak against the motion?
Yes.
Okay, please do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anshika, and I would like to speak against the motion that it is not the right time to implement UCC. The very first reason is content of UCC has not been spelled out, leading minorities to believe that it is a way of imposing majority views on them. Secondly, there is huge diversity in the customary practices among communities across India. So this makes uniformity very difficult to achieve. Further, a vast portion of personal laws lacks codification. Enforcing uniformity will interfere with those practices. For example, Special Marriage Act 1954 prohibits marriage between first cousins. This is a common practice in some communities like Muslim. Similarly, marriage between second cousin is more acceptable and prevalent among communities in southern India compared to the north. Also, as recommended by Law Commission, the focus should be to bring about small reforms, correcting some inherent irrationality in some of the personal laws and make them suitable for modern times. And in Pannalal Bansilal Patel versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the Supreme Court observed that while a uniform law is desirable, its enactment in one go might be counterproductive to the unity and integrity of the nation. So, gradual progressive change should be brought about. And UCC is neither necessary nor desirable at this stage. Secularism cannot contradict the plurality prevalent in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshika, for speaking with us today. Now I invite Chaman to speak for the motion.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Uh, Thank you, Imani. This is my first session. Okay, so as you know that today topic is uniform civil code. I will just put some uh, argument in favor of this. तो पहले मैं इसके बारे में बताऊंगा कि इंडिया द लैंड ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी एंड इट ये इसकी डाइवर्सिटी इसकी ताकत है, इसे हम सब लोग जानते हैं। और इसकी इंडिया हैज अ लॉन्ग सिविलाइजेशन लेगेसी। और अगर हम बात करें तो इसकी थोड़ा इसके बारे में इंट्रोडक्शन देना चाहता हूँ, जस्ट इंडिया की यूनिकनेस के बारे में, कि इंडिया का शुरू से ही फेयर एंड केयर का कल्चर रहा है। और इसके साथ साथ जो आज की डिबेट है जो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की, आई पर्सनली बिलीव दैट दिस इज द 4 आर डिपेंडेंट अपॉन इट, that is the recognition, right and religion and respect. That is the 4 R which I think uniform civil code में मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ये 4 R की बैटल है। और इसके साथ साथ अगर जैसे आलोक ने बताया था कि यूनिफॉर्म एज ए मेंशन इन द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आर्टिकल 44 DPSC। और इसके साथ साथ जो मैरिज है, डाइवर्स मेंटेनेंस इनहेरिटेंस एडॉप्शन, बहुत सारे इसमें इशू आते हैं। और इसके साथ साथ रिसेंटली में बहुत सारे ऐसे कंट्रोवर्सी, चाहे हिजाब कंट्रोवर्सी रहा हो, ट्रिपल तलाक रहा हो, समय समय पर बहुत सारे इसमें कंट्रोवर्सी हुई है कि कहीं ना कहीं यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड अभी जो असेंबली इलेक्शन और बहुत सारे इलेक्शन हेल्ड हुए, तो उनमें बहुत सारे मैनिफेस्टो में इस चीज को मेंशन भी किया गया है कि इट इज द राइट टाइम टू आई थिंक अप्रूव सच काइंड ऑफ द यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इन स्टेट एंड सेंट्रल लेवल ऑल्सो। और इसके साथ साथ 40 एज यू नो दैट एज ऑल ऑफ नो दैट की 44 का अमेंडमेंट 1976 में इसको सेकुलरिज्म को एज ए प्रेम्बल के रूप में इसको डाला गया था इसमें। और इसके बाद भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऐसा बम्बई में इस चीज को कहा गया था कि सेकुलरिज्म द बेसिक फंडामेंटल फीचर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट इंटरफेयर इट। और इसके ये तो जस्ट एक मैंने एक ओवरव्यू टाइप में दे दिया। अगर मैं आर्गुमेंट इन फेवर ऑफ यूपीसी के बारे में अगर बात करूँ तो जस्ट मैं पॉइंट वाइज में रखूंगा। It will strengthen India's unity and integrity. Second point, it will help in reduce vote bank politics, and other after it, all Indians will treated same on individual basis, not religion basis. So after its implementation, ये सारी चीजें individual basis, not religion basis. So it will be a milestone for women empowerment, especially खासकर women जो religion के खासकर marginalized section है, जो women empowerment, तो ये women empowerment को it will help to rise the women dignity and it promote the woman right, respect and recognition। और इसके अदर पॉइंट फेवर में सारी चीजें, फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन ऑफ वुमेन, राइट एंड प्रॉपर्टी जो इनके कहीं ना कहीं जो सिविल कोड हो, पर्सनल सिविल कोड जो रहते हैं, उनमें कहीं ना कहीं जो वुमेन को मार्जिनलाइज करके रखा है, जो चीजें आने के बाद उन सारी चीजों को कहीं ना कहीं अपलिफ्टमेंट डेफिनेटली होगा। इट प्रमोट रियल सेकुलरिज्म, जो सेकुलरिज्म का जो कैरेक्टर कहीं ना कहीं है, उस चीज को कहीं ना कहीं आफ्टर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द यूसीसी। और रिड्यूस द बर्डन ऑफ जुडिशरी, ये एक इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं जो सिविल और ये जो कोर्ट के जो बहुत सारे मैटर इस मैटर जो लाए जाते हैं जुडिशरी के सामने, तो इट रिड्यूस द बर्डन ऑफ जुडिशरी। आफ्टर इट सोसाइटी बिकम मोर इंक्लूसिव, क्योंकि ये सारी चीजें हैं कि सोसाइटी और सोसाइटी का जो डिप्राइव सेक्शन है वो भी मेन स्ट्रीम में आएगा, क्योंकि रिलीजन के अंदर भी बहुत सारे कॉन्स्टेंट हैं, तो उनके वोट दूर होंगे और जो सोशल प्रोग्रेस वगैरह। और इसके साथ साथ बस यही है कि आर्गुमेंट इन फेवर ऑफ यूसीसी।
Thank you, Chaman. Thank you so much. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mani. Thank you, Mani, for calling me out. मैं अगेंस्ट में बोलूंगा। माय नेम इज भास्कर सिंह एंड जैसा कि मेरे दोस्त आलोक ने कहा और चमन जी ने कहा कि ये हमारे देश के फेवर में है, मैं एक चीज यहाँ पे पॉइंट आउट करना चाहूंगा इनके लिए, क्योंकि जो जहाँ जिस कंट्री का इन्होंने एग्जांपल दिया, फॉर एग्जांपल यू नो ऑल द कंट्रीज दैट ही नेम्ड आउट, वो सारी कंट्रीज सिंगल रिलीजन पे बेस्ड हैं। वहाँ पे या तो वो लोग टोटली इस्लाम पे बेस्ड हैं या तो टोटली क्रिश्चियनिटी पे बेस्ड हैं। हमारी जो कंट्री है वो डाइवर्सिटी पे बेस्ड है, वो टोटल डाइवर्सिटी पे बेस्ड है और डाइवर्सिटी के अगेंस्ट होगा यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड। क्यों? क्योंकि पहली चीज, सबके लिए, हर कम्युनिटी के लिए सेम रूल अप्लाई करना नहीं ठीक है। दूसरी चीज, जो जोग्राफिकल आइडेंटिटीज हैं, सारे लोगों की जो जोग्राफिकल आइडेंटिटीज हैं, उनके लिए एक प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट हो जाती है। जैसे मेघालय, मिजोरम जैसे स्टेट्स के लिए जो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लाना, उनके जो थाउजेंड्स ऑफ ईयर्स के जो प्रैक्टिसेस है उनके अगेंस्ट जाना है। दूसरी चीज, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल जो राइट्स ऑलरेडी आर्टिकल 14 वगैरह में जो भी राइट्स हमको मिले हुए हैं उसके अगेंस्ट जाता है ये। तीसरी चीज, जो सदर्न इंडिया और ये सारी ये जो अंशिका ने कहा, जो सदर्न इंडिया वगैरह में जो ऑलरेडी सेकंड कजिन मैरिज जो वहाँ पे फेवरेबल होती है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती वहाँ पे, तो उसके भी अगेंस्ट जाता है। तो यस, दैट विल बी ऑल।
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Now I invite Priyanshi to speak for the motion.
Good evening, everyone. Myself Priyanshi Singh. Uh, in 1948, when the Constitution of India was being framed and the values of pluralism were being discussed, one social reform became a bone of contention. It divided the Constituent Assembly. They debated for months but could not reach a consensus, and finally they compromised. The compromise was over the Uniform Civil Code (UCC), one civil code common to all. It would have meant the abolition of personal laws. The laws, based on one scripture's religious texts, they regulated almost every aspect of life: marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, guardianship, everything. A lot of these laws were discriminatory, unfair to minority groups and women. The Sharia law has provisions that deprive women of inheritance. Certain Hindu customs deprive women of remarriage. So, what the Constituent Assembly wanted was to abolish or limit such laws. They wanted to govern India by a constitution so that the same laws apply equally to all citizens, irrespective of their religion, sex, gender, or sexual orientation. One nation, one law, that was the objective. But it was not adopted because India was a diverse and vast country, a conscious of chaos of religions, ethnicity, customs, and social structures. To unify such a country under one law was seen as fiendishly tough task at the time. Plus, there was immense opposition to uniform civil code from both sides, Islamic fundamentalists and Orthodox Hindus. They wanted the Sharia and Sastras to determine the personal laws. They feared a uniform civil code would open the Pandora's box. It would diminish their authority. So they called it threat to religious freedom. They issued social warnings of social unrest in the country. The founding fathers of India's constitution reiterated they made proposal optional, a directive principle in Article 44. This is what it said: the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout territory of India. So the Uniform Civil Code remained a dead letter. They decided to implement it when India was ready to accept it. 7 decades have passed, it is still a proposal and is still controversial. It is a much debated topic since the time of independence. Since discussion on Hindu Code Bill in 1955, it was argued that as much as Hindu society requires codification of law, Muslims required with the same urgency due to the exploitation faced by women. Since the discussions erupted, it was argued that Muslims will not be able to adopt the changes and requires time to adapt and get accustomed to the changing time. However, except for marriage, codes like Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, and even the land laws were codified and made universal regardless of religion. Uniform Civil Code means that every citizen, irrespective of faith, will have the same set of laws, both in terms of criminal and non-criminal. This also means an end of religion-based laws to govern people. For a large part of India's history post-independence, due to existence of several religions, there was often reluctance to approach a common law for entire nation. However, when it came to matters for Hindu faith, laws which didn't allow equal inheritance by sons and daughters, or matters of divorce, a law was enacted called Hindu Marriage Act 1955. This, to a huge extent, settled all discrimination faced by Hindu women. Now fast forward to days of 1985, there was this Shah Bano case where a Muslim lady of 62 years
Thank
was
you, Priyanshi. Thank you so much.
okay.
Is
Sorry
there
to
anyone who
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but please, participants, you are requested to speak on how you feel, why you feel that it should be implemented at this point of time, or why you think that it should not be implemented at this point of time. If you are telling historical backgrounds of the topic or introducing the topic for us, that is not exactly what we want to talk about. So please stick to the motion. We'll request you. And other knowledge you have, we can put it in the round two. So please put arguments, debatable arguments.
Okay, now moving towards the next speaker. Is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? Bhaskar and Priyanshi, please lower down your hands. Is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? Should I call out the names? Shravan Kumar? Oh, Prakash Singh, would you like to speak?
Yes,
Okay, okay. Please do.
मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लागू नहीं होना चाहिए और उसके पीछे मेरे दो मुख्य तर्क हैं। पहला तो भारत में सिर्फ विभिन्न धर्मों के लोग ही नहीं रहते, अलग-अलग जनजातियाँ भी रहती हैं और जनजातियाँ जो जंगलों में रहती हैं या मेनलैंड इंडिया में नहीं आती हैं। इन जनजातियों को जब हिंदू कोड बिल कोडिफाई किया जा रहा था, तब इनको हिंदू की डेफिनेशन से बाहर सिर्फ इसलिए रखा गया था कि इनके जो लॉज़ हैं या इनको प्रोटेक्ट किया जा सके। तो अगर हम यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लाते हैं, तो पहले तो ये मेरी शंका भी है कि क्या आप इनके लॉज़ इनको जो छूट मिली है, उसे ख़त्म कर देंगे या आप इनको भी इंक्लूड कर देंगे? अगर आप इनको इंक्लूड कर देंगे, तो आप गलत करेंगे। क्योंकि जैसे हिमाचल प्रदेश की एक ट्राइब है, वहाँ पर पॉलीएंड्री भी चलती है, यानी कि एक लड़की बहुत सारे कई हस्बैंड्स रख सकती हैं। तो आई थिंक अब ये हमेशा सही माने चाहे गलत, लेकिन हमेशा से इन्हें प्रोटेक्ट किया जाता रहा है। दूसरा क्या कहते हैं और अगर ये लॉ आप सिर्फ़ इसलिए लेके आना चाहते हैं क्योंकि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी में कुछ खामियाँ हैं, तो ठीक है, आप उनकी खामियों को अलग से लॉ ले आकर ख़त्म कर सकते हैं। उसके लिए एक पूरा यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड लाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। दूसरा, इंडिया में एक स्टेट है गोवा, उसमें ऑलरेडी यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड लागू है। वहाँ पर कोई मुस्लिम पॉलीगैमी प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन वहाँ पर कुछ चीज़ें देखने लायक हैं, क्योंकि वहाँ यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड लागू है और 2021 में चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया एस ए बोबड़े ने काफ़ी तारीफ़ की थी। तो वहाँ पर जब शादियों का कानून जो बना हुआ है, उसमें हिंदूज़ को एक स्पेशल प्रिविलेज मिला है कि अगर एक हिंदू पत्नी 25 साल के पहले कोई अ, बच्चा नहीं देती या 30 साल के पहले एक पुरुष को जन्म नहीं देती है, तो एक हिंदू पति अगर चाहे तो वो दूसरी शादी कर सकता है एंड दिस इज़ लीगल। ऑल ओवर इंडिया जहाँ यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड नहीं है, वहाँ हिंदू ये काम नहीं कर सकता, मुस्लिम पॉलीगैमी प्रैक्टिस कर सकता है। लेकिन जहाँ यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड लागू है, वहाँ पर एक हिंदू बाइगैमी कर सकता है और वो उसके पीछे जो कंडीशंस है, आई डोंट थिंक कि हम वो सारी वैसी कोई कंडीशंस लाना चाहेंगे, लेकिन मुस्लिम वहाँ पॉलीगैमी प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर सकता। तो जो कि यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड को लेकर के खासकर जो डिबेट होती है, वो उन सब का सेंटर यही रहता है कि हाँ, शरीयत में इनहेरिटेंस में ढेर सारी खामियाँ हैं, उन खामियों को अलग से लॉ ले आकर ख़त्म किया जा सकता है, पूरे इंडिया के लिए एक यूनिफ़ॉर्म सिविल कोड लाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है।
Thank you so much, Prakash. Now, who would like to speak for the motion? Kavita?
Yeah, I
Let's
would
go with
like to
Kavita
speak.
first and then Gyan.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kavita, and I am here on the most controversial topic of this modern era. As we all know, that Machiavelli and Hobbes has said if religion will interfere in matter of state, so this make our state weaker, and if our state will be weak, then there will be no stability. Stability of our state will be hampered, and if the stability of our state has been hampered, then it means we are not safe. I
Shalini, please
personally
mute your mic.
Sorry to interrupt. Shalini, please turn off your mic. It is disturbing Kavita's presentation. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
okay. I personally agreed with Machiavelli and Hobbes, as we all know that there are many personal laws there were and are who discriminate and unfair to minority groups and women as well as. And uniform civil code just talk about to remove all these personal law. So just first of all, just don't get confused between personal laws and custom laws. There are many laws which has been mentioned in scripture of religion, and there are many traditions which has been evolved through societies, and they are very much discriminatory, and they are I also personally believe that they are threat to national integration, secular nature, and gender justice. If we talk about national integrations, so we all know that people first put their religious identity first, like they pretty much like to say that I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, irrespective of I'm Indian. So I also believe that all these personal laws are threat to national integration. And if our country is secular and there are a lot of personal laws are prevalent, then in which way our country is secular? And there is no debate between that all these personal laws are pretty much discriminatory on the basis of gender justice. So I personally believe these personal laws should be abolished and there should be uniform civil code in our country. And don't get confused between uniform. Uniform doesn't means common. The word uniform here means that all communities must be governed by uniform principles of gender justice and human justice. It means modernizations and humanization of each personal law. It doesn't talk about to abolish these laws completely. This uniform civil code just talk about modernize them and humanize the each personal law. And it would mean not a common law but different personal laws based on principles of equality, liberty and justice should be uh, should be should be re what should I say? Thank
Thank you, Kavita. You spoke really well. No need to get nervous. All right, who would now speak against the motion? Gyan, would you like to speak against the motion?
No, I won't discuss against.
You want to speak for the motion or against the motion?
I would I would speak in favor of.
Okay, so is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion?
Hello, I would like to speak for against the motion.
Yes, Kabir, please.
Uh, Recently, Kavita has said that have given or quoted somebody in which she stated that religion and state should not interfere. But my point is that in India, we cannot separate the religion and state because religion is part and parcel of our society. So, in my opinion, uniform civil code interferes in the religious matters of of the individuals, or it is an unnecessary intrusion into the or interference into the private matters of an individual. There are various other matters which we must look forward rather than uniform civil code, or we should have the priority and rather than uniform civil code because uh, uniform civil code have in uniforms there is a might fear. There are 2 points of uh, fear from the uniform civil code, and that is that it promotes the Hinduization of the religion. Means there are various chances that the laws would be Hindu. The laws would go from Hinduization process, and one that it also I think I have problem from the word secularism itself, and that's why I think UCCC also promotes how something selective secularism rather than real secularism. Practically, not theoretically. Theoretically, might it promote real secularism, but in practically, if you will look, then it will somehow promote selective secularism, and that's the major problem where it lies. And considering the nature of the Indian society, in which religion plays so much important role, I think there do not any necessary for intervention into the UCC, and it's just a political gimmick to gain some political votes, or it's simply an agenda to get more votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kabir, for speaking with us. Now, I invite Gyan to speak for the motion.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Simani, for giving me the opportunity. So, I would speak in favor of the motion. So, as we all know that according to Article 44 of Constitution of India, which says that state shall endeavor to provide for its citizen a uniform civil code. Thus, union government or state government have the right to take steps in order in order to bring uniform civil code. But so far as we know, only Goa has some sort of uniform civil code. If we uh, look at why uniform civil code is important, I think uniform civil code is important because the personal laws that are prevailing in our society are largely discriminatory towards women. For example, women do not have equal rights for inheritance, or in some cases, they don't have right to inheritance at all. Father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, also was a fierce proponent of UCC, and he said that it is essential for modernization of India. However, there have been several attempts from government side in order to implement UCC, but not to any avail till now. Now, if we think in perspective of our judiciary, judiciary has time and again spoken in favor of bringing law in order to implement UCC. Now, I would like to address some of the points that my predecessing speakers uh, arose. First of all, Bhaskar said that it is form of political gimmick. I don't think it is form of political gimmick, because if it was political gimmick, our constituent assembly and our constitution makers wouldn't have written that in our constitution. Secondly, someone said that uniform civil code in Goa is discriminatory. I agree. The uniform civil code in Goa is some sort of Christian code, because Goa is Christian dominated state. So I think there should be some modification until a consensus is reached. And one more point I would like to raise, that if we think about other countries, because someone said that uh, only one religion is dominating in other countries, but I don't think it may be true in case of Islamic countries where Sharia law prevails. 98 to 99% people there are Muslims. But if we see European countries, there large number of Muslims are living now, and they form a considerable amount in numbers. So, for example, in Europe, you have large number of Muslims living in Europe now, but they have uniform civil code. So I think it is it is need today, and it should be implemented as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Gyan. Now, is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion? Shalini, you were raising hand before, I guess.
Yeah, but I'll be speaking for the motion.
Okay, so is there anyone who would like to speak against the motion?
I would also like to speak in against the motion. So basically, uniform civil code law is attacks on our personal laws. As we know that the India is a diverse country, which we India is a diverse country, that it is one of the, you can say, beauty or something of our country. So it is attack on our personal law. So that's why I believe that the uniform civil code law may lead to the dilution of our culture, because it directly attacks on our personal laws related to the marriage or something else. I do believe that there are many, you can say, spiritualistic or many more things which we need to verify, or which we where we need to something, you can say, common platform on judicial level. But I believe that it may definitely lead to the dilution of our culture that will affect our diversity. As we know that in article we have article 25, that is right to religious practices. So our constitution also gives this type of right, that we can, it allows us that we can follow our rituals and religion in our own way. Thank you.
You still have time, you can speak. Alright, so thank you, Rahul. I would now invite Shalini to speak for the motion.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
good evening everyone. I'm Shalini and I'll be speaking for the motion. And our motion is obviously Uniform Civil Code. So it resonates with, or we can say it is an instrument for the one nation, one rule. And it shall be applied to the religious communities. And the provision of this is given under Article 44, we all know. That is under DPSP, which is not enforceable. And it doesn't mean that it will limit the freedom of people to follow the religion. It just means that every person will be treated the same, and all citizens of India have to follow the same laws regardless of any religion. And like change has always been a law of nature, and a minority of people should not be allowed to pick and choose the laws they want to be administered under. And these personal laws were formulated in a specific context and should not stand still in change time and context. Many provisions of specific law are in violation of human rights, like in Sharia law, women are not allowed to inherit properties, and in Hindu law also, women are deprived of remarriage, and many more provisions are there that is, we can say, discriminatory or unfair. And many against speaker contend that article it is a violation of Article 25 and 26 guaranteed under Indian Constitution. It is not actually so. The codification and unification of the variegated personal law will produce a more coherent legal system, and it will also reduce the existing confusion and enable easier and more efficient administration of law by the judiciary. And yeah, it will also integrate India. Like India is very diverse, we all know, and a UCC will help in integrating India more than it has ever been since independence. And it will also help in bringing every Indian, despite his caste, religion, or tribe, under a national code of conduct. And yeah, it will also give rights to women, which is not given under the personal law like in Sharia law and Hindu law. And religious personal law were like kind of misogynistic in nature, and by allowing old religious rules to continue and govern the family, we are condemning and all Indian women to subjugation and mistreatment. A UCC code will help in improving the condition of women in India. So having a UCC in country is not only a matter of justice, but it is also a matter of like how a country accommodates the diverse population living within it. And it would be an ideal safeguard of citizens' rights, and its adoption will be progressive legislation. And with changing times, the need has arisen for having common civil code for all citizens, irrespective of religion, and ensuring their fundamental and constitutional rights are protected. Even secularism and national integrity can also be strengthened by introducing UCC. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Shalini. Well spoken. Krishna, would you like to speak?
यस यस। जय हिंद, मेरा
Okay.
नाम कृष्णा सिंह है और मैं यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के विपक्ष में बोलना चाहूंगा। उसको लागू नहीं करना चाहिए। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि भारत में कई विभिन्न विभिन्न जातीय और धर्म के लोग रहते हैं और उनके धर्म की अलग अलग मान्यताएं हैं। अगर हम यूसीसी को लागू करते हैं तो ये कई धर्मों की मान्यताओं के खिलाफ होगा और हमारे राइट ऑफ रिलीजन आर्टिकल 25 को ये वायलेट करेगा। और हमें अगर किसी धर्म के में खामियां दिख रही है तो उसके लिए हमें कोई और कानून लागू करना चाहिए। ये जरूरी नहीं है कि यूनिफॉर्म कोड को ही लागू किया जाना चाहिए। हमारे कंट्री में बहुत डाइवर्सिटी और बहुत विभिन्न लोग रहते हैं। अगर हम इसे लागू करते हैं तो उनके धर्म उनकी मान्यताओं के खिलाफ होगा और वो इस पे प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे। इसलिए हमें इसे नहीं करना चाहिए क्योंकि बाकी धर्म की अलग अलग मान्यताएं होती है, उनके हिसाब से ये गलत है और ये गलत है, इसे लागू नहीं होना चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
Okay, Krishna, thank you. Now, who would like to speak for the motion? Krishna and Gyan, please lower down your hands. Not a big issue, but still it creates confusion. So, who would like to speak for the motion? If no one wants to speak now, we can begin with round two.
Okay, Himani, I think uh, there's no one left who has to take this 3 minute opportunity to speak, to present a speech on this issue. So, well, in that case, I would like to thank you for hosting round one. And good evening, guys. I will be hosting round two for you. Round two is, first of all, let me tell you about round two. It's a talk, it's a conversation between all of us. It's an interaction जिसमें हम इस टॉपिक को काफी अच्छे से खंगालेंगे और अपने व्यूज रखेंगे. ऑल्सो जो ऑडियंस हैं जो नहीं बोले आज राउंड वन में, उनके पास भी अगर कुछ भी हो तो यू आर वेरी मच अप्रिशिएटेड टू कम एंड स्पीक. नाउ बिफोर स्टार्टिंग, इस इशू की शुरुआत हुई राज्यसभा में एक प्राइवेट मेंबर बिल के आने से. तो इससे जुड़े हुए मेरे बहुत सारे कुछ सवाल हैं जो मैं शुरू करना चाहूंगा, जिन पर मैं आप सबसे कुछ कमेंट्स लेना चाहूंगा. पर उससे पहले वी मस्ट सी दिस कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के बहुत सारे पक्ष हैं. जैसे
Excuse me, bhaiya, your
हम में
voice
से
is
बहुत
not
सारे,
clear.
सॉरी, माय वॉइस इज नॉट क्लियर. आलोक, इज इट नॉट क्लियर टू एवरीवन?
Uh,
It is clear.
I think it is clear.
It's
meanwhile,
clear.
just
It's clear.
before,
It's clear. It's clear. You carry on. It's clear.
ओके. ऑल
I
राइट.
think
सो आई वाज
I think
सेइंग
Alok
दैट
must be having some
यूनिफॉर्म
internet
सिविल कोड
problem.
के आलोक, यू मस्ट बी हैविंग सम प्रॉब्लम ऑन योर साइड. आई वाज सेइंग यूनिफॉर्म
it's
सिविल
it's
कोड के
it's
बहुत
fine
सारे
now.
पक्ष हैं. इनमें से कुछ पक्षों को, सॉरी, I'm being interrupted. Is there any problem? All right. आई वाज सेइंग कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के बहुत सारे पक्ष हैं. कुछ पक्षों को छुआ गया राउंड वन में, कुछ पक्ष छूटे रह गए. जैसे मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी एक पक्ष है, पर महिला वुमेन भी एक पक्ष है. क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी एक पक्ष है. ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज पर हमें से कुछ लोगों ने बात की. ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज एक बहुत बड़ा इसका एक एस्पेक्ट है जिस पर हमें बात करनी चाहिए. और जुडिशरी इसका एक बहुत बड़ा पक्ष है जिस पर भी हम में से बहुत कम लोगों ने पॉइंट आउट किया कि जुडिशियल, एक तो ये देखा जाता है कि जो करंट सिस्टम है जिसमें अलग अलग कानून है वो किस तरीके से जुडिशियल बर्डन है. और दूसरा ये देखा जाता है कि अगर एक नया, बिल्कुल से एक नया यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड हम लाएंगे तो वो कितना बड़ा बर्डन होगा कि जुडिशरी को चेंज करने में, पुराने पैटर्न से नए पैटर्न पे आने में, सारे जजेस को, सारे लॉयर्स को, लोगों को उन उन कानूनों से यूज टू होने में, और पूरी एक जुडिशरी जो उसका जो पैटर्न चल रहा है स्पेशली लोअर जुडिशरी का, उसको चेंज करने में, तो वो अपने आप में कितना बड़ा बर्डन होगा. तो देयर आर मेनी एस्पेक्ट्स टू यूसीसी जिन पर बात होनी चाहिए. पर मैं सबसे पहले जो बात उठाना चाहता हूँ वो ये कि जो हमारे टॉपिक से मिलता है, हमारा जो टॉपिक है, क्या देश में हिंदू मुस्लिम कंट्रोवर्सी को प्लांट करने की कोशिश है यूसीसी का बार बार उठना, ऐसे समय में उठना जब महंगाई, बेरोजगारी, अर्थव्यवस्था जैसे तमाम मुद्दे हैं जो सरफेस पर हैं, जो लोग फील कर रहे हैं कि हाँ वो हैं, उनकी प्रेजेंस, वो चाहे इन्फ्लेशन हो, चाहे अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट हो, इकोनॉमिकल प्रॉब्लम्स हो, या जो अभी रिसेंट बिल्कुल चल रहा है बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट्स हो, बहुत सारे अदर डिस्प्यूट्स हैं. क्या बार बार ये आरोप लगता है कि क्या ये उनसे ध्यान भटकाने की कोशिश है सरकार की? क्या हिंदू मुस्लिम कंट्रोवर्सी को प्लांट करने की साजिश है? और हम ये भी देखते हैं कि इन जब भी ये मुद्दे उठते हैं तो इसका पॉलिटिकल एडवांटेज जो हमारी रूलिंग पार्टी है उसको मिलता है. तो आई वांट यू ऑल टू कमेंट ऑन दिस एस्पेक्ट. आप में से कौन वो लोग हैं जो इस बात से एग्री करते हैं या डिसेंड करते हैं? यू आर अप्रिशिएटेड टू पुट योर पॉइंट. You can speak. You don't need to raise your hand. Yes, Alok.
You are very right calling this, Sivansh bhaiya. A sociological
Yes,
study has
Alok, you
found
wanted to
it
speak?
that yes,
I, I'm continuing. A sociological study has found that all sorts of communal violence or communal issues which
Okay, I
arise
can't
in our
hear you.
country.
Maybe you have a bad network. Anybody else who wants to speak on this? क्या यूसीसी का बार बार एक आना किसी तरीके से न्यूज में आना, नेशनल फोरम पर आना, क्या किसी को लगता है कि ये उतना इम्पोर्टेंट मुद्दा नहीं है, पर कुछ मुद्दों से ध्यान भटकाने के लिए इसका इस्तेमाल किया जाता है? ये आरोप ऑपोजिशन अक्सर लगाता रहता है।
यस, मुझे लगता है कि ये आपने जैसा कहा कि ये मेन मुद्दों से भटकाना,
आई थिंक
महंगाई, बेरोजगारी। सॉरी,
आई कांट हियर यू इफ यू आर स्पीकिंग गाइस।
I think you have a network problem because earlier also
कबीर
Alok's
एंड
voice is
भास्कर,
coming to us.
Yes,
क्या
Bhaiya, the
कबीर और
speaker's
भास्कर की
voice are
आवाज सबको आ रही
okay.
है?
Yes, we're clear.
The
हिमानी प्लीज
problem
हेल्प
is
मी,
in your network,
कैन
Shivansh.
यू हियर पीपल? बिकॉज आई एम अनेबल टू हियर एनीवन।
भाई कोई मैसेज में लिख के बता दो कि आवाज नहीं जा रही शिवांश को।
Okay, I am audible. Any of you, do you want to answer my question? Please speak, please speak.
So I was speaking that you are very right speaking that all this some kind of planned Hindu-Muslim controversies are to be raised by political parties. Particularly, I would like to quote a study. A sociological study has found that all sorts of controversies arise in our country because
You're not
a
audible,
really
Alok.
substance. Am I now? Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you're audible. You're audible now.
Yes, yes.
So
Sorry for the great technical glitch. I don't know how it happened, but किसी की आवाज मुझ तक पहुंच नहीं रही थी. Yes, Alok, please. Now you are audible.
yes, so I was saying that this is actual thing and which is in common practice. But other than that, what I would means, since you pointed out that we must not go haywire from the topic, like we should speak that why it's high time to implement UCC in our country. For that, I would say that like you also called for bringing in judicial things, like how judiciary would deal with it. So for that, I would say that
No, no.
most of
Sorry,
the
sorry, you
controversies
must
or most of the
misunderstood.
workload.
My
am
question
i
is little
am I
different.
audible?
My question is क्या ये गवर्नमेंट का एक तरीका है लोगों का जो अटेंशन है उसको डिस्ट्रैक्ट करने का? Is government using this issue to distract the people from other issues which the opposition want to raise, like inflation, unemployment, economy, etc.?
Yeah, I would just agree to but can't substantiate with few examples.
All right, anyone else who wants to speak? Because this is something which opposition always speaks about.
या शिवांश, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा इस पर पॉलिटिकल बात नहीं करना चाहूँगा कि ऑपोजिशन क्या कह रही है एंड व्हाट गवर्नमेंट सेज, बिकॉज इफ वी सी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, इन इन्फ्लेशन, इकोनॉमी, these issues are consistent. ये 4 साल पहले भी थी, 10 साल पहले भी थी और आगे भी रहेंगी, ये हमेशा रहेंगी, ये कभी खत्म नहीं होने वाली। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि इस पे हमें जाना चाहिए कि ये ध्यान भटकाने की साजिश है। जहाँ तक
Okay, ठीक
बीजेपी
है
का
तो
सवाल है, तो बीजेपी के मैनिफेस्टो में तो यूसीसी हमेशा से रही है, 2014 में भी थी, 19 में भी थी। तो हमें मेरिट्स पे बात
okay,
करनी चाहिए, ना कि ये
okay. So Gyan believes that it is a real issue, और ये ऑपोजिशन का जो आरोप है वो बिल्कुल सिरे से खारिज कर रहे हैं. एनीवन एल्स? जो
May I
clearly.
speak
I
something?
wanted
Yes, okay, first Kavita and then Priyanshi.
Okay, in case of UCC, I just don't think government is playing something politics or religious card, because I personally believed at the time of when our uh, constitution was sorry. Because I think when our constitution was creating, at that time there were many members of constituent assembly. They were also thinking that there should be one law for everyone, but at that time there were a lot of religious chaos, and there were a lot of differences between ethnicity, so they left this issue for the future generations. And they mentioned this on our DPSP, on article 44. So they were also believing that this should be in our country. And I just think this is the right time to bring this law, because if we talk about personal law, these are mainly governed by the men. There are the men who makes the laws. If we talk about on community level, so there is no gender equality. So if I see on the perspective of justice on the basis of gender, so it should be it right there in our country.
All right, Priyanshi wanted to speak something. Otherwise, Kavita has reminded me of another question I'd like to highlight. Priyanshi, first you speak.
I do agree with all the points of Kavita, and I just wanted to add one more thing, that yeah, it is the peak time to implement it, and so do this government have the power to implement it, as it is having majority in this country. So I guess it is the right time to implement it.
All right, here I would like to go on my second question, जो बिल्कुल जिसकी बात कविता ने कही. She mentioned कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मेकर्स ने यूसीसी की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात रखी थी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में. वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में इसलिए रखा गया क्योंकि उस समय वो नहीं किया जा सकता था. You want to say कि उस समय ऐसी परिस्थितियां नहीं थी कि यूसीसी को इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाए, and they just passed it on to other upcoming generations. Now why do you think ऐसी क्या परिस्थितियां अब डेवलप हो गई हैं कि हम इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली तब इस बात को नजर में रखते हुए कि जो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट है उस पर बहुत बार आरोप लगते आए हैं एंटी मुस्लिम होने का या प्रो हिंदुइज्म होने का. So is it the right situations and time? Why do you think it is so?
May I?
Anyone of you?
I would like to say that at that time, or 90% of 90% of citizens of our country were not literate. They all were aware of these things. Like their sentiments were very, like we can say that uh, अगर उस टाइम ये लॉ लाने की बात की जाती, तो they might have been ready to they might have been ready to give their life also just for saving their religious law. So at that time our constitution makers thought that कि अभी ये सही टाइम नहीं है, because लोग इस चीज को समझेंगे नहीं. But if we talk about present day, so there are if we talk about the numbers of literacy of our country, it has been raised since 1947. So I think people will, if अगर लोग समझना चाहें, तो they will be able to understand.
All right, you got it. Alok, you want to say?
Yes, I would reiterate the same thing. Like I said, that the major challenges our country was facing in the beginning was already there was a war going on, or rather, that mass dispersal, we can say. The movement of people, migration of people from Pakistan to India, and that too on religious lines. And over that, our country had to face with poverty, hunger, and some very, very basic challenges. So bringing this at that point of time, and again adding up to Kavita's argument, that
Right.
people were not so literate that they could accept these things.
We
So
got
in
two
those
points.
lines,
There's
it was much difficult then.
yes, the partition pressure plus the lack of education. All right, Kabir, you want to say something?
Yes.
I would like to answer your first question first, which you have said that whether it is a political gaming or it is the whether the government is using as a tool to to gain some political power or political votes. So मेरा मानना ये है कि मेन चीज होती है किसी भी कंट्री की उसकी इकोनॉमी. और उसकी इकोनॉमी के बल पे ही कोई कंट्री प्रॉस्पर होता है। ये हमने बार बार देखा है, अपने इतिहास में भी देखा है और आज भी हम यही देख रहे हैं। आज हम अगर हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी अगर आज इतनी एग्रेसिव है तो वो भी इसी बल पे है कि आज हम इकोनॉमिकली जाइंट बनते जा रहे हैं या उस रास्ते में हैं। तो हमारी जो मेन मेन समस्या है बेरोजगारी, हम आज देख सकते हैं कि कैसे ग्लोबल हंगर इंडेक्स और पॉवर्टी इंडेक्स और अदर अदर इंडेक्सों में
बिल्कुल
हमारे
कबीर, ये सब
जो
समझते हैं ही, बिल्कुल एवरीवन अग्रीज। तो क्या आप मानते हैं कि ये एक पॉलिटिकल एडवांटेज लेने का एक वेपन है रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट का?
यस बिल्कुल।
ऑल राइट, आफ्टर दिस
And
प्रकाश वांट्स टू
one
से समथिंग। हाँ, यस कबीर।
आई थिंक
ओके,
आलोक वांट्स टू स्पीक।
ओके, आफ्टर प्रकाश, यस प्रकाश।
यस, एट द टाइम ऑफ पार्टीशन पार्टीशन के समय, उस समय भी आई थिंक 1950s में ही 1950 में ही जब हिंदू कोड बिल तैयार हुआ था, उसको लागू करने की बात उसी समय की जा रही थी। लेकिन क्योंकि कांग्रेस के अंदर भी बहुत सारे कंजर्वेटिव्स थे, उन्होंने इसका मुखर विरोध किया, जैसे कि डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद, सरदार पटेल, जेपी कृपलानी, और आई थिंक जो उस समय कांग्रेस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष थे, उन्होंने भी बहुत मुखर विरोध किया था। और उनके इन लोगों के इसी विरोध के चलते ही बी आर अम्बेडकर ने उससे कैबिनेट से इस्तीफा दिया था। बाद में जब 52 में पहले आम चुनाव हुए, तो जवाहरलाल नेहरू सभाओं में घूम घूम कर ये कह रहे थे कि ये अगर हम जीते तो हिंदू कोड बिल लाएंगे, हिंदू कोड बिल लाएंगे। उसके बाद उन्हें मेजॉरिटी मिली, वो आए। तब तक सरदार पटेल क्या कहते हैं, वो उनकी मृत्यु हो चुकी थी। राजेंद्र प्रसाद वो राष्ट्रपति थे, लेकिन क्योंकि विधानसभाओं में कांग्रेस थी, लोकसभा में कांग्रेस थी और राज्यसभा में भी कांग्रेस थी, तो नेहरू जी की प्रधानमंत्री थे। उन्होंने क्या कहते हैं, पार्टी के अध्यक्ष को हटाकर खुद ही अध्यक्ष हो गए। तो हिंदू कोड बिल के जितने विरोधी थे विद इन कांग्रेस, उसको हटाकर उन्होंने हिंदू कोड बिल लागू कर दिया। तो ये हम इसलिए बताए क्योंकि एक दो लोगों ने ये कहा कि उस समय लोग क्या कहते हैं, अपने रिलीजन के राइट्स को बचाने के लिए जान भी दे देते। तो एक चीज यहाँ हम जरूर कहेंगे कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का जो हिंदू रिलीजन का पक्ष है वो पूरा हो चुका है ऑलरेडी। 95%, 90% हम कहेंगे, 55-56 में हो गया। बाकी 5%, जो 5-10% जो बचा था, वो 2005 के इनहेरिटेंस को लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के एक जजमेंट ने पूरा कर दिया। हाँ, रिगार्ड हम ये कहेंगे कि पार्टीशन के चलते, क्योंकि उस समय राइट्स बहुत हुए थे, तो मुस्लिम साइड का रिस्क नेहरू जी नहीं लेना चाहे। दैट्स इट।
तो प्रकाश, कंटिन्यूइंग दिस, क्या वो अब रिस्क लिया जा सकता है? ये परिस्थितियां अनुकूल हैं जिसमें अभी चर्चा उठ रही है?
बिल्कुल, ये परिस्थितियां अनुकूल हैं, अब रिस्क लिया जा सकता है, क्योंकि अब
ये आप
पहली
कब कह
बात।
रहे हैं, जब इंटरनेशनली ये इमेज है कि हमारे यहाँ की सरकार एंटी मुस्लिम है, प्रो हिंदू? आप इस मतलब इस बात को हम मान सकते हैं कि कुछ भी देश में जो पीस है देश में वो बरकरार रहेगी आफ्टर द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ यूसीसी?
बिल्कुल, ये ऐसा मेरे मानने के पीछे मेन कारण ये है कि 55-56 में हमारे पास कम्युनिकेशन की इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं थी। आज हमारे पास है, टीवी से लेकर मोबाइल से लेकर, अगर हम सही चीज चाहें तो
इसका एक
आराम से
नेगेटिव यूज भी
प्रोपेगेट कर
होता है
सकते हैं। क्या?
जिसका नेगेटिव और पॉजिटिव दोनों तरह का यूज होता है, वो ही सोशल मीडिया।
बिल्कुल, लेकिन जब हमारे पास कम्युनिकेशन के चांसेस हैं, तो हम इसके नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट से डर के इस चीज को टाल नहीं सकते। हालांकि हम यूसीसी के विरोध में हैं, लेकिन ये कारण लागू करने का नहीं होना चाहिए कि हम रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहते इस साइड से। देर आर मेनी प्रॉब्लम्स इन। अब मेरे ख्याल है कि मेरा मानना यह है कि अगर शरीयत को कोडिफाई कर दें तो यूसीसी की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। लेकिन इस कारण से हमें पीछे नहीं हटना चाहिए कि हम उधर रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहते, यह हमारी
ठीक है,
इमेज
ठीक है।
गलत हो जाएगी।
राहुल सिन्हा कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं हमारे बीच में।
Yeah, yeah. I joined it very late in the discussion, so thank you for giving me this chance. I have a problem with the question you are asking. You are asking rather a political question than an academic question that what the government is doing. We are students. We are not politicians. We are just here to discuss the academic viability of the issue.
So students should not should
Okay,
students
I
we are
respect that. But
voters to
now, okay, now I have to address what some of the arguments which were raised by people that we are not. I do not support the UCC. I am against it,
no, no,
and we are not
Rahul,
ready.
see,
We are my okay. Let me finish my argument first. I am
I have lots of
not in the
questions
support.
lined up. If you are not ready to answer this question, you must ignore. If you are not ready to answer a political question,
I
you must pick the academic questions, which will be covered in the upcoming minutes.
okay.
All right,
Okay,
right, right.
I'll just take the political question as well. Uh,
Yeah,
the, there are some few arguments have been raised, so I would like to counter that. That we are not we are ready to implement it today. I do not agree with that. See, even today, our way of life is very much involved in religion. It is called personal laws. Why it is personal? It is very much involved. We are very much involved in religion, superstitions, myths, mythologies, etc. And aspects like rationality and morality are still involved. Uh, so suddenly implementing it, UCC should come as a gradual implementation. It should not be that it is not the exact right time that we can suddenly implement UCC. It should come as a gradual implementation. And one very, I don't know if it has been raised today or not, that some scholars have said that India do not have uniform criminal code today. Why they say this? Because some states have very strict cow protection laws, prohibition, liquor prohibition laws, while other states do not have such laws. So it is said that India today do not have a uniform criminal code as well. So, and we are talking about implementing universal uniform civil code. Why we were needed to not have a uniform criminal code? Because each state, we are a diverse country. The only thing one of the many things we are special about that we are diversity, unity in diversity, and
Yes,
to
Raghu, but
address that,
on certain subjects, the states have their discretion of making laws. States can make
uh,
laws.
see, legislature has not taken steps historically. The legislature has not taken steps to gradual implementation of UCC,
All
and
right. We
sometimes
got your
even the
points.
okay. One last point I want to add that UCC should not be as you have also raised it, that UCC should not be perceived as imposition of Hindu personal law. Article 44 says that the states shall, I quote unquote, secure for citizens a uniform civil code. Hence, the word secure does not mean to impose. So when it should be implemented, it should be implemented with taking everyone in confidence, of course, including the minorities, and it may be perceived, especially by the minority, as an imposition of provision in the Hindu personal law. Hindu personal law is imposed
All right, we got.
in Jainism,
Yes,
Buddhism,
we got your
Sikhism.
points.
Okay.
Okay, so you said things that it should be implemented gradually and taking in confidence all the communities and all the uh, aspects. Now, Alok wants to say something. Saurabh, let's hear to you first, and then come to Alok.
Well, let me answer your very first question. What you earlier pointed out that that government is doing all these things in order to gain the political gain. So I would just go against
Yeah,
your
and it's
view
not
that
my opinion. It's something which
that's what opposition
opposition
claims.
talks
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
and
I
this
agreed.
opposition means, yeah.
Yeah, but my view is contrary to this. See, whenever we have seen in past also, whenever government tries to intervene in the religious matter, just in order to correct correct the discrimination prevailing in that religious laws, we often claim that no, the government is doing for political gains. So I would disagree with the your very first questions, which oppositions also claims. And now coming to your second question, which you said, what has changed? That initially uniform civil code has been kept in the directive principle of state policy, and now in these 70 years, what has changed? Why we think that India is ready to implement the uniform civil code? Now my answer is a lot of things have changed. The one of earlier speaker has also pointed out that now we are a $3 trillion economy. We are the fifth largest economy in the world, and economy has a lot to do with all other matters. And now second thing, in 2017 or 16, I don't know exactly in which year, the very thing, in the religious matter, the Supreme Court decision on the triple talaq. In 2017, Supreme Court just throw this triple talaq. So that was the major reformation in the religious matters that discriminates on gender basis. So we haven't seen any major opposition from even Muslim communities as well. So I think that India is ready for implementation of Uniform Civil Code, which will give the equal share to everyone without discriminating on the basis of gender or any other
Yes.
forms of discrimination.
Right. And at this point in debate, we have a conclusion that the people of the legendary debates believe. We have two conclusions that first thing is that India, in time and situation, it is ready for the implementation of uniform civil codes. And second, that uniform civil code is a genuine issue. It's not an issue that has been raised just to take political advantages, as claimed by the opposition. It is a genuine issue, and India is ready in terms of times and situations. To implement the uniform civil code. Now I would like to head towards some other issues which we want to raise. But before, Alok and Krishna, do you have any unique points to raise? Any unrepeated points?
Yes,
We
in
have a lot.
counter to Rahul's argument, I had to mention that he said that there is
Hello.
not even a uniform criminal code in our country. Like every state has to deal with some other agendas like liquor ban or some other practices. For that, I would say that in Bihar, the major source of revenue was liquor, but still Bihar banned it. The reason behind was the good or the welfare of the people, the poor people or the major section of the Bihar's population. Reason being that the labor class who used to earn a daily wage of 300, 400, they used to spend a bigger chunk of their earning only on liquor. And due to that reason, their family at home used to be unfed or rather bare stomach at night. So just to address this problem, states go on to plan or rather devise mechanisms to address the problems, social problems, or rather the genuine problems of their particular states, and that cannot be uniform for the whole country.
Well, I would not like to extend this uniform criminal thing ahead. Yes, Krishna, you have a point to make.
हेलो, मैं audible?
I can hear you.
जैसा कि बोल रहे हैं कि यूनिफॉर्म लाने का ही सही समय है। मेरा ये मानना है कि यूनिफॉर्म लाने का ये सही समय है। अगर बात ये हुई कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लाने से काफी धर्मों में वो मान्यता, मतलब कि वो लोग विरोध करेंगे इसका, तो इसका ये जवाब है, कोई चेंजेस आता है तो उसके खिलाफ सब रहते हैं, कोई बड़ा चेंजेस हमें लाना है तो उसके खिलाफ सब रहते हैं। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम अपनी सोसाइटी में चेंजेस लाए ही ना।